I did the math. I like totaled up the total distance of our 1 week of preseason training, and it equated to a little bit over a marathon, which doesn't account for a change of direction, doesn't account for high speed yards, doesn't account for all of those things. That's just strictly distance.
Morgan, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I'm really excited that you're here. I know you're in season, it's always really busy, but I really appreciate you making the time. And a lot of the youth sports parents listening and the young girls really are curious what strength and conditioning is like at this level and how they can better prepare. So maybe we can just start with your background first and what led you to working with Stanford women's soccer? Where were you before? And yeah, we'll get going.
Yeah, so I grew up in Los Angeles. I tell people that I played every sport under the sun. Anything I could get my hands on, I was willing to try. As a kid, in high school, I kind of narrowed it down to swimming and water polo, which I ultimately did not pursue in college because I was just burnt out. I was just needed a step back from sport. But funny enough, I didn't take that big of a step because shortly after I started my college career as a student at Auburn University, I found kinesiology as a major, graduated from Auburn, did a handful of internships early on, started out at UCLA, did an internship after that at USC, but South Carolina. And then after that, I was like a professional intern at Wingate University, which is a D2 school outside of Charlotte. And then I got my first full-time position at USC Upstate, University of South Carolina Upstate in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Um, there I worked with, I believe, 7 teams. So I was really exposed to a lot of different training methods, different coaches, different types of athletes. And we did not have a lot of resources there. So I was able to learn how to provide a service to athletes without access to a lot of things, which was really challenging at the time, but I believe made me the coach I am today. So after 3.5 years at Upstate, I went to University of Alabama, Birmingham. I was there for 3 years and one pandemic, making it seem like it was maybe 6 years. But at UAB, I worked with women's soccer, softball, and rifle. And then in 2022, I got the opportunity to come here to Stanford. And I work directly with women's soccer. I go to practice. I travel with them on the road. I do just about everything with them. And then my other team is women's water polo. Obviously, that was a sport I played in high school, and I have a lot of love for those girls and those athletes.
Awesome. And congrats on the high ranking for Stanford women's soccer.
Yeah, it's been a lot
um,
of fun.
yeah,
So
I feel like you guys are always like in the top three every year, and I'm like, there's Stanford again.
yeah, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, this is my fourth soccer season here. In my 4 years, we have gotten really close to the big year, and haven't been able to pull it off. But I have my fingers crossed, and I won't say much more that this could be a special year, I guess.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I love watching the playoffs, so I'll keep an eye out. But yeah, best of luck the rest of the season. Let's get into strength and conditioning. So I think a lot of the sports parents listening and the young girls really want to know what physical qualities they should really be working on now to get ready for the load at the D1 level, the intensity, and just how increasing the demands have become. So, what are some things you look for in incoming freshmen?
Yeah, so what I try and explain to incoming freshmen, and it is probably hard to understand until you're on campus, is that the level in which you'll be training at is so far different from the training that you have been at your club or at your high school, just because of the amount of time that we can spend with you. I did the math. I like totaled up the total distance of our 1 week of preseason training, and it equated to a little bit over a marathon, which doesn't account for a change of direction, doesn't account for high speed yards, doesn't account for all of those things. That's just strictly distance. And so I try and use that number because it is so easy. Like, you have to be able to withstand that amount of distance and that amount of distance over several weeks. Now, like, is that just an average? Of course. So, there are people that are running more than that and there are people that are running less than that. But on average, the girls run about a marathon plus in the first couple of weeks of preseason. So if you are not physically able to handle that load, you may be able to get away with the first couple of weeks of just knuckling through it. But you eventually you'll start to fall apart. So I think, like, if you know that that's a number that you can have in your head, and that's something that you can work towards in the summer before you get here, I think that goes a long way. And then on top of that, of course, there's like the change of direction demands, which is pretty high level, the speed demands, which is, again, like probably much more than you've had to do, just because the speed of play and the speed of the athletes that are already on campus are so much faster than the athletes that you've been playing with and playing against. So yeah, there's an element of like just having to be prepared for a load that you haven't seen quite yet, which is hard because if you haven't seen it, you don't actually know. So I can say all these things, but until you get here and you're like, oh, wow, they really are way faster than, my high school teammates, or these girls have been running forever and they're still going and going and going. But yeah, that's what I try and tell like our recruits when they're on campus or after signing day. That is something I reach out and tell them. Yeah. It's a
So
lot.
definitely the conditioning demands, and too often I'll hear a lot of girls in the summer off season. They're just doing some running on their own, but not getting the soccer exposure, like 11v11. Do you recommend they get that and kind of still play on a team leading up to that point so they're ready?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a believer of the best way to stay fit for soccer is to play soccer. Like, that might be a hot take as a strength coach. I believe I could write you the best summer packet ever. But the demands of the sport are hard to replicate, especially when you're on your own. So like if I'm asking you to do repeated sprints over time, the like exertion level of that would look so different if there was a ball in front of you, if you were playing a game, versus you and a couple cones out on your high school field. It's hard to replicate like the intensity level that would come with those hard repeated sprints. Now, does that mean like if you are on a team that regularly plays, should you not do any extra conditioning? No. Like, there are ways to add to what you do at a soccer level to help kind of pad what you've already done. When I send out summer packets, I send out like multiple versions. One is for field players that are not playing, that are, working, have internships, etc. And then I send another one out for athletes that are playing regular soccer and need like top-up sessions on top of like their regularly scheduled practices and things like that. And they know, like, I kind of sit down and explain, like, if you quantify this practice as a high level practice, maybe you just do 8 sprints. If you quantify this as a medium practice, maybe you make the decision between, more than 8 sprints or run a couple miles. If it's a low practice, then your top up stuff should be more volume and faster. And then I write out, kind of give them a 1, 2, or 3 options for multiple weeks, just so, yes, they're playing soccer and they're able to get touches on the ball and things like that, which are obviously very important. But they're able to supplement those sessions with like small, reasonable amounts of extra conditioning.
Yeah, I really like that a lot, and I totally agree that the best way to condition is to play your sport, and
Right.
even with that speed of play that you mentioned, that cognitive piece when they get into the college game, I mean, they have to be thinking so much faster, and that
Yeah.
can definitely cause fatigue, so they have to get used to that level the summer before, and it's just not enough to do all this unopposed work, by yourself at a field, so
Yeah.
now let's talk about like things they should work on in isolation. So a lot of girls are not getting in the gym enough in high school. They still have the stigma around like training with weights. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I think I hear that a lot, definitely less than I did when I was first starting out. This is actually my 10th year in collegiate strength and conditioning. So I would say 10 years ago, like that more freshmen had that mindset than they do now. But my big pitch in terms of strength and conditioning and getting in the weight room is injury prevention. Like if you are, I can't ever guarantee that there is there's not exercise protocol that I could write for you that would guarantee that your knee injury risk is like never going to happen, but I can write you stuff that would minimize that risk. And so those things look like basic strength movements. Those things look like practicing your D cells, your A cells. Those things look like controlled plyometrics. Um, and so like I am looking for freshman athletes who have a history of lifting because that means that they have the base level strength to be able to withstand, the high load and high demands. And they're able to like stay available. I think that like a famous quote is your best ability is your availability. And so if you're able to stay healthy and you're always, you always are in practice, you're always able to sub into a game or start a game or whatever it is, that's great because the coaches are able to see your development over time. But if you have like consistent setbacks where we're having some soft tissue injuries because, your strength level maybe wasn't up to what it should have been when you arrived, it may be, you may be fine for 6 weeks and then you have to be out for a week. And then maybe the coaches have moved on, like, and found, the person that is in your same position is actually like receiving minutes. And, it's hard to get back after that. You have to be able to like get back, get healthy, and then like earn your spot back. So I always tell athletes like, as maybe it's maybe the last thing you want to do after you've played a game and you're sore and you're beat up. But we have to lift because I need you guys to all, as many of you as I can, need to be available from August 1st to the second week of December. And that's what we're looking for. I know it's October and I know you're sore and I know you're beat up and you guys played really hard in a really intense game. But like theoretically, I would like this group to be healthy for 3 more months. So we're going to, stick in it a little bit. And I'm sorry that it isn't great right now, but it's worth it in the long run. And I think because I've cued that so many times over my 4 years here, it has definitely helped with the buy-in of my athletes. They're like, you know what, we need to keep lifting. I know the schedule's tough. Like, let's make sure it's a priority. And I think we've had a lot of good results because of it.
Yeah, that injury reduction piece is so huge at that level and just being able to keep up with the demands of the game. Now, from a performance standpoint, have you found that freshmen coming in strong with a solid background in strength and conditioning, they've like done really well against some of the seniors and the older girls? Because I remember when I went into college, I looked at the seniors and I was like, oh my gosh, they're like towering over me. These girls are 3 or 4 years older.
Yeah.
So have you seen that with some freshmen who have had that background, like just that confidence and their performance?
Yeah, I guess I won't name names, but I have two freshmen right now that came in from the same club team and have a similar training history, and both of them start. So
Wow.
they both came in where day one in the weight room, I always just assume that nobody has ever stepped foot in a weight room before. This is the first time they're ever putting a bar on their back. And so, you're talking to them like that's the case. And then they're just like, ripping squats heavier than I've done recently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can say like, when they are so robust and they are able to withstand, and they're able to get into those physical moments and hold their own as freshmen, you're starting at a higher starting point than maybe somebody who hasn't had the same history. Like ultimately you're trying to get them up to that level, but when you come in July and you're not quite there yet, I can't really do much from, mid July to the second week of December. So I'm just sitting hoping that like we're just working towards you not getting hurt. And then we're shifting in the winter and spring. And I'm like, all right, we got to get you strong so that next year you're at this starting point, not this one as a freshman. So yeah, I would say that the athletes that come in and are strong and have a training history, and I'm able to say like, hey, we're going to do a clean complex and then back squats, and then you guys are going to do pull-ups today, and those are our three main movements. And they're like, all right, let's go. I think that's that starting point you're able to build on top of sooner than you would from a freshman that is still learning the basics and how to maintain that load and gain that strength, that base level strength. So yeah, I would say in my history, the athletes that come in with a background in strength and conditioning, like it often works out for them. Obviously coach isn't here recruiting power lifters, though maybe I wish he was, but the ones that have that background are normally successful.
Yeah. And I have a question about the strength numbers, and you don't have to like name names, but like your top girls, like for some of the main lifts, like what are some of the loads they're lifting? You mentioned back squat, like how many pull-ups might they be cranking out, just to give everyone an idea of kind of what's going on in these college weight rooms and what the level is.
Yeah, so we test um based on uh velocity, but it does end up getting pretty heavy and slow. And we test in the winter. So these numbers, they're not lifting this right now, though I know
Yeah.
some of them wish they were, and some of them try. But so our team average for back squat as of this year was 245. Obviously, there are athletes on either end of that average. That's a team average. And then our average trap bar deadlift is 300.
Oh,
So
wow.
they get after it. And
Dang.
then I will say, like, I don't know why. This may be a culture thing that happened before I got here, but they love pull-ups. I mean, we'll get
That's
shakes
awesome.
on. They'll do as many as like, so I make sure that they have a chance to like max out their pull-ups, cheer for each other, scream, wear a bunch of weight, do some pull-ups. I don't have an average number for that, but I can tell you that it is important to my team to be good at pull-ups, and they love it.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah, I always tell, my high school girls, like, we have to do our pull-ups, and they end up loving them. At
Yeah,
first, they're a little afraid, and then it's like
yeah.
their favorite thing in the end.
Yeah. Oh, my girls love it. They love it and they love to brag about it. It's so, I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, just coming back to the deadlift numbers, yeah, that's a crazy team average. You said it was in the
It
300s?
was 300. Yeah. And I
Oh
think I
my gosh,
had, man, I gotta remember, but I had people close to four.
that's
It,
crazy.
I
Okay,
mean,
so
that's pretty incredible. I will
wow.
say that they love it. They get after
That's
it for
yeah,
sure.
that's amazing, and I'm sure, like, some of them probably have that high training age 'cause
Exactly.
it really takes time to work up to something like that, and right
Yeah,
now, I have some 8th and ninth grade girls who are above 130, and I'm like, "Guys, if you just stick with it, like, you can get to the some of these levels."
for
So,
sure. For sure.
yeah, it's just that's so crazy. Any other lifts? Do you don't have to say numbers on these, like, more of, like, the single leg movements everyone should be competent in, like some of your staples?
Yeah, so the way I kind of program, especially in season, is our main movement, it will be a bilateral strength. So that'll be, your back squat or your trap bar. And then our accessories that seem like they're accessories but are actually pretty challenging are almost all single leg. So just about any time we're doing rear foot elevated split squat with dumbbells. We'll be doing staggered stance RDLs. We'll be doing, let's see, dumbbell split squat. We'll do single leg squat to bench or any other single leg variation. Some of this stuff we end up doing out at the field. So we'll end up doing, kettlebell walking lunges. We'll do, a lunge complex where you're going in each direction. Yeah, tons of like our main movements are those big double leg strength movements, but I make sure that just about everything around it is single leg, so we're getting what we need out of it, out of our limited lifting time. But yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, sounds really straightforward. And I try to tell parents, like, you don't need your young girl doing all this fancy nonsense you see on social media. Like at these college programs, it's master the basics, get good at the main lifts, chase strength, chase power, chase speed. That's
Yeah,
really all it is.
keep
Um,
the main thing for sure. Yeah, you
yes,
don't
I love
it
that.
doesn't need to be super fancy. I don't program a lot of fancy stuff. I don't do a lot of fancy stuff myself. But we master the basics, and the basics can be challenging if you add reps, add volume, add weight. It you're seeing like it's infinite. You can go forever with, 6 exercises a lift for the rest of your life. And I think that's what we try and do here.
Yeah, I love that. And that's why I'm really doing this series too, is so parents understand, just master the simple. You don't need to chase all these fancy bells and whistles and have your trainer constantly change up the program and all the exercises. Just get good and like you said, change the volume and intensity and maybe some variations of a lift, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's really simple. And I think my favorite phrase now is it's not that deep. So like at this level, I think everyone just needs to still keep it simple. Now, I
Right.
want to transition to speed because this topic is an audience favorite. Every soccer player wants to get faster for sure, and a lot of girls want to know like what the level of speed is at Stanford. So, if you're maybe just willing to share what you do for your speed, maybe in season, and then just some of the numbers or times or mile per hour they're clocking and training in a game that you're willing to share.
For sure. So in season, obviously my time with them is very limited. I incorporate speed stuff into our warm-ups. So kind of what that looks like is after the basic warm-up series, they do their bands. Each of the girls have like specific prehabs for their injury history, and things like that. They do bands, they do their prehab buckets, and then we do a quick dynamic warm-up, some movement prep, and then we're doing a bunch of resisted, like partner resisted sprints, whether that be like change of direction or linear. So I make sure that we have, it's short and super intentional, and I make sure that we have a chance, I, ideally 3 times a week, often twice a week. We're getting up to around 90% of their max high speed.
Mhm.
So I stretch it out to 40 yards, give them 3 reps to hit that 90, before they move on to practice. And we can get, because we have been so consistent with this, and the athletes know what to expect. Like when I say, hey, it's a linear day, hey, it's a change of direction day, they kind of know like what's going to happen. We can get this all done in 10 minutes. 15 if you're including like all the buckets and the bands and all that stuff. So we are like, they can get through it and they can get up to that top speed pretty quick. Yeah, so it is definitely something that we touch on almost daily, in season, and not necessarily in quite as much detail as I will when it's the winter and spring. In the winter and spring, I have more like 20 and 30 minutes before practice, and we're able to do like more drills and like talk about our goals for each session. And that can be decently basic as well. Again, like there's a lot of complicated things you can do for a speed session, but I try and keep it like, day one, quick, short sprints. Day two, maybe, you know, longer distance. Day three, change of direction. Day four, we make it a game.
Mhm.
Some variation of that in different orders. And the athletes will know, okay, hey, so, today is our 20-yard sprint day. We got to be able to like have those first couple steps be really hard. And that's the focus of this session versus, okay, we're running 60 yards today. I got to make sure that I'm hitting that top speed and I'm looking for a speed PR. I want Morgan to yell my name out when it says like 100% on the catapult thing. And they get pretty fired up about that. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's a little bit different in season. It's definitely still something that is important, and it's something that we just have to be like pretty short and sharp about. And once the athletes are dialed in on what your expectations are and like the reason why we're doing this, they're like, all right, let's do it then. So we've had a lot of success with that for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I like that, you're just, like, sprinkling it in to warm up and just giving them enough to really still get a great improvement in
Right.
season and keep them fresh. Now the fun part, what about, any of the times or numbers?
Yeah, so I don't like to haul out timing gates when we have catapult GPS units on
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But so when we're doing these sessions, a lot of the time I will yell out like, "Hey, you just hit 19 miles per hour," or whatever it may be. Our team average top speed right now is 18. Again, there are athletes on either side. 18 miles
Yeah.
per hour is our team average. Um, yeah, so sometimes when we're doing 40s, I'm out there yelling like, whoever, you just got a PR, let's go. Like, and they'll all hype each other up. And then, I make sure that they all have an opportunity to come over and look at the iPad, see how fast they went today. They're Stanford kids. They want to see numbers to their effort. And I appreciate them being bought in enough to be curious about how they're doing. And like, they have a lot of pride in their top speed as well as like, some other catapult metrics that we send out every day. So yeah, no, it's pretty cool that they love it. I will say I have had since my time here, I've had three athletes hit 20 miles an hour, which is pretty cool. It's pretty
Wow.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that's booking it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, yeah, those are really great to know, and I encourage everyone listening. I mean, Morgan mentioned the timing gates. I use the free lap timing system. It's just pretty easy to carry around, especially for youth players. But I recommend everyone times. I mean, you should know where you stand in high school by age 13, 14, and just start tracking it and improving. And I'll link the conversion sheet for everyone in the caption below so you know on your Fly 10 how that converts to your mile per hour. So I'll leave that below so you can look because I think some people are calculating it wrong and they're like, "Oh, my 12-year-old runs an 18." I'm like, "No, they don't." So
I
I'll leave the
wish. Yeah.
conversion sheet. Hey guys, just want to take a quick moment to shout out our sponsor, Simply Faster, and one of my favorite speed timing systems from them, the Free Lap. I use it for my own sprint training as well as for my athletes, and they love it. It's super easy to set up, you can take it to the field on your own, and you can get accurate speed times to track your progress. Check the Free Lap link in the caption below to start adding timing into your speed sessions. If you know me, you know I love my Free Lap. If you're serious about speed, it's time to start timing. I think maybe we should touch on the beep test because you had mentioned that, and I know a lot of like top D1 programs do it as their standard fitness testing. So, what are the requirements coming in for everyone, or does the coach just say, "Hey, like just get your best"? Like, how does it work?
I mean, for better or worse, our athletes have gotten so increasingly more fit over
Oh
the years
yeah.
that I've been here. So when I first got here, the standard was 35, I believe. And we have gotten to the point where we've incrementally moved it up to the standard for field players is 44.
Holy
So
crap.
yeah, so I mean, and they get after it. And our standard is if you take it each week until you pass it. So I will tell anyone that is looking to, and I also think that a lot of other schools have a similar policy. So I would get comfortable with the uncomfortableness of the beep test. It's one of those things that if The first time you do it, it's really scary and it's really hard. The second time you do it, it's less scary and still really hard. And then you just keep doing it until it's, hard, but not scary. And I think, yeah, it's important to, hold standards and make sure that your whole team is moving up. And it's important that our athletes are able to withstand that load because soccer is hard. I don't want to put you out there. I don't want you to get, day one of preseason. I don't want you to come in and get a 27 and then we have a game in a couple days and then something happens and you're hurt because you weren't able to withstand the intensity of the game and the demands of the game. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's a standard and it's probably the first thing that our returning athletes tell the incoming freshmen. And that's okay. Like I'm okay with them knowing like, hey, this is a standard and it's got to get done. Because we get it done. And I think, yeah, it's important. I mean, who knows? Maybe the standard will move up
Oh my
after
gosh.
this fall. Don't tell the girls; they'll be scared.
Yeah, oh my gosh, if we get into the 50s here, I'm gonna be really concerned. I'm gonna be like, "What are these girls eating?" Like
That would be incredible. I mean, let's see.
yeah.
We had two athletes in the 60s this year.
Oh my gosh. Gosh, I saw a video, like, I think it was 4 years ago when someone got, like, a 45 for the first time, and that was, like, a
Yeah,
huge deal back then, and the girl just, like, fell over and everyone was cheering. I was like, "Oh my gosh, a 45, but a 60?" Now I'm like, my mind's blown.
yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean, those are some high quality aerobic athletes getting 60s. I actually wasn't even
Wow.
sure that the audio was going to keep going.
Yeah, when does it stop? Do we know?
I don't know, but we got close, I think.
Oh my gosh. Wait, what position do these girls play? Like wing or forward?
Both. So
Okay.
one is
Wow.
outside back. The other is a winger.
That's insane. Now, how does this transfer to the starting lineup? Does it go into the decision making or I always wonder
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would like to think so. I think,
Okay.
obviously I don't write the starting lineup. Probably could. But yeah, no, I think it is incredibly important. Maybe not necessarily like if it doesn't affect the starting lineup, it certainly affects the time in which you get subbed off. So if we
Okay.
think that you can only, have quality minutes for 30 minutes and then you get subbed off, but you feel like, oh man, I could have kept going. Maybe that's something that you should work on, like in terms of fitness, because the coaches are seeing, oh, she's not quite as sharp as she was in the first 30. What should I do about that? Maybe it's not quite a soccer problem. Could be. Maybe it's not quite a soccer problem. Maybe it's more of a fitness problem. And, your decision making skills start to decrease when you're feeling fatigued. And that's something that we can do, after practice, after games, etc. But yeah, no, I think fitness level and your amount of minutes on the field are super correlated. They have to be.
Mhm. Now I wanna wrap this up. I wanna touch on the US Youth National Team ID camps. What
Yeah.
are you in attendance at those, and, does that kinda play into the recruiting?
So yeah, I have been to two camps. I'm what they call a network professional, which I kind of describe as like a substitute teacher for their full-time staff. So when whoever is typically with that age group for some reason can't come or is at another camp at the same time, they start calling out to select network professionals and see if you can cover for them. So it is definitely a very different role because you are only there for, let's say, I was in Atlanta for 10 days with the U17 group. And then I was with U16s in the Netherlands for 2 weeks this year. And obviously, like being with a group for such a limited time is very different than having somebody for 4 years and being able to develop them. You're
Mhm.
kind of working with kind of pre-cooked athletes, and you're not going to like, shift their whole, you know, I don't know, speed development in a week. but you're there to support them and make sure that they are doing what they need to be prepared to play and to practice at the level, like at a fairly high level. And then you're making sure that they are doing everything after the fact to recover and be ready to go for the next day. Whether we're playing, you know, the U18s, like the other camp that's also around, or we're playing, Norway or Germany or whatever it may be. Yeah, so those camps are definitely super interesting because I know that the athletes that are there are, some of the best in that age group. But it is a very different role and a very different expectation for me. Like I'm not, it was a big like mind pivot of like, you get these girls for 10 days. You're not going to like alter their whole training, cycle with whatever you're spewing at them. It's just, you're just there to support them and make sure that they have the knowledge for when they go home as well as when they're at camp.
Yeah. That's interesting, but I'm sure you can at least talk to them about the level that you work at and just kind of the
Yeah.
expectations and leave an impact in that way too.
Yeah, I was in the Netherlands with the U16s. The day that they will, for us, it was like 1 in the morning. For here, it was I don't know what time, but it was the exact time that college coaches are allowed to start calling that age group. And so it was really fun to wake up in the morning and they're telling you, this coach called me, like, what do you know about this team? What do you know? And I was like, I don't know, but that's awesome. Like,
That's
congratulations.
so
It's day
cool.
one. Like you go visit as many places as you can, like connect with the coaches, connect with the girls there. Like that's awesome. It was like such a small coincidence just to be there at that time because I've never seen that from that side. I'm only ever here when recruits come in. I shake their hand in the weight room, show them around. But to be on that side of it was pretty cool.
Oh, that is really cool, especially
Yeah.
in the Netherlands. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm part Dutch and I have family in Maastricht, so
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
yeah,
It was a lot
I
of
love
fun.
the soccer there. Very,
Yeah.
very good
They love the
soccer.
soccer there too.
Oh, yeah. Now, just to wrap this up, what's a final piece of advice you would give to the sports parents or the young girls listening to just get ready for the college level if they really want to play at one of these top D1 schools?
Yeah, I would say this is probably like pretty fluffy and like maybe a little cliche, but like don't stop having fun. Like the second this becomes a job and like you're taking it too seriously, like I really think that your performance will drop. But, when we're having fun, we're goofing around, we're like still working towards something together and like we understand the expectations from each other, but we're still going to enjoy the process. I think that the results are so much better. And I think that in youth sports, especially today, people can be taking themselves way too seriously. Um, and it's soccer. It's not that serious. Like it's fun and we work hard and we win a lot of games and it's awesome. But at the end of the day, like I get to work in the weight room. I get to wear sweatpants to work every day and I get to be out on a soccer field for multiple hours a day, like with these athletes that are some of the best in the country. And that is awesome. I think the second that you start to think this is really hard, I'm really exhausted, I'm putting in a lot of hours, all those things are true, but you can't lose sight of like this is fun. Like I get to play and I get to play with my friends and that's awesome.
That is such great advice, especially at that level. You have to really love it because when things get hard, then that helps you to stick with it is having that joy and that passion for the sport because it will get hard, like the
Yeah.
beep test at level 50. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so,
That's
yeah,
that's kind of my philosophy is like, hey, the weight room can be a safe place. It's a safe place for me. It can be a safe place for this team, but we can have fun, we can crank the music, we can goof around, but we got to keep moving forward. And if that is not happening and we're, getting a little too lax, then that's where the problems start to come in. So you have to, toe the line of, hey, we're having fun, but we're still working. We're having fun, but we're still working hard. And I think, yeah, once you get into that groove, you're in a good spot.
yeah. Well, this was a really fun conversation, and I think a
Yeah.
lot of people listening will probably enjoy this too. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. I'll also include Morgan's Instagram in the caption below so you can follow the Stanford women's soccer team this season and everything they're doing. We'll be rooting for you. And yeah, I always love watching you guys play. I mean, every year you make it so far into the tournament and it's really exciting. So
Yeah, awesome.
it's so up in the air this year. I have no clue what's going to happen. These rankings are all over the place, but it'll be exciting.
Yeah, I can guarantee it'll be exciting. That's for sure.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you, Morgan, and I will see everyone next time.